it's not about doing dreadful in the market. It's about horses for courses, and Bentancur's still a good player. We were obviously struggling aerially, and Danso's our best aerial defender. So when you're working your way into the season and when you know you're not physically ready for the game, don't start a Bergvall who's left a gaping hole in the middle of the park the week before. Play a Bentancur, give that back four a bit more protection, and maybe even play a Danso that can wing balls in the air, because none of our defenders were able to do that on the weekend. I wasn't calling for Danso to start before the game, but I was calling for Rodrigo Bentancur to start before the game. I thought it was a recipe for disaster to play Lucas Bergvall in the middle, and that's exactly what came to pass. But in hindsight, maybe Kevin Danso was a better player to go for in this game with how we got dominated in the air.
What you gain with aerial and ability and strength with Danso, you absolutely lose with his feet, because he's got.
But we didn't have that anyway. We didn't have that anyway.
Yeah, no, that's how bad the situation is.
But forget about that. I'm just saying, looking at the team that we're building
overall,
even with players that we expect to come in and be our first choice, is it physically imposing enough in general? Do we think is that an issue? Is that a potential issue?
I think you're relying on those kind of players that are coming in. Again, I'll reiterate, I don't think they're like super amazing, maybe slightly better than what we got currently. They are players that are at their feet, and they may have a bit of pace about them. Will they be ones to go and track back and win balls back? Probably not. So you have to really, focus in on that central mid area, which I still think I was surprised personally that Paulinho didn't get a contract with us, because he shows a lot of bite. He shows a bit of aggression in there, a ball winner, can push it forwards. The other players like Bentancur and all that, I think they're very gifted, talented players, but I think they win balls in a clever way. I don't think they win balls in a physical way, and that's something that we're missing significantly. A lot of our players are maybe clever in certain instances, but that doesn't always wash. And like what Sims alluded to with all these players that we do we have anyone in the team right now that can be the kind of warrior aspect of it that I think is missing, and not so much the style of play, but that physicality. I can't see it. I can't see any player that I could say, oh, that guy's a unit, or like he's going to win the ball like indefinitely, absolutely, without breaking his leg or falling over or whatever it might be. I don't see any. So I think that's going to be a big imbalance throughout the season, because I do think majority of the teams now have a really strong physicality, and we do not. You could argue even United are in a similar principle. They have fairly dainty players, good on the ball, obviously very talented, but that doesn't go well against teams like Brentford, Brighton, all of these ones that we keep mentioning.
But you mentioned Manchester United. Since Carrick has come in, nobody in the Premier League has picked up more points from them. So it's not like you can't win points on a regular basis.
But they won the points not playing the football that we're trying to play. You know what I mean?
That's
they won it playing counter-attacking football, like
we're trying to go
players on the break. You can. Go on, Si.
No, I was saying, like, there's different avenues of it, and I think that's where we're open to the debate of, like, what is De Zerbi trying to achieve here? He's obviously, asking for these kind of players, so he knows he wants to play this way. But is that definitively the right way, based on what everyone else is doing? Because you could have 10, 11 fantastic, gifted footballers like at the feet. As when I mean footballers, I mean the way that they play and style-wise. But if you're playing the likes of Brentford and all this lot that are just going to go at you and put you under that obscene pressure, which they do, we're going to get stuck. We're going to get stuck.
We're going to get stuck. We're going to get stuck only if they have the physical advantage, which definitely on the weekend they did. And it wasn't just fitness; they were stronger.
Yeah, I don't think there's many other teams.
That's true. That's true. And but I'm saying Savinho and Marmoush isn't going to save that
as it progresses. I think Marmoush, Mickey van der Ven, Kudus, Fernandez. I think they are all physical players.
Yeah, Fernandez and Tonali, I'm not worried about. Yeah. I'm worried about
Kudus is physical.
I'm worried about the defense for sure. I'm not saying they're not good enough to win football games. By the way, I'm saying if we're building a project, I'm looking at the project for the long term in terms of, can I see this project challenging for a title one day? That kind of element. I'm not saying maybe we can compete for Europe and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying when I'm looking at who's obviously winning the league at the moment, what's their massive advantage is their physicality. That is the thing that obviously they got the technicality as well. Don't get me wrong. They marry both really well, but they're not just competing physically. They're dominant physically. Yeah. They're not just strong players. They're the strongest.
But they are the only team. The only team that are like that.
No, but the Premier League is so physical now. It is so physical. Everyone is.
And it's when we lose a key player. So you could put an 11 together that I think you could kind of bypass some of these problems, right? You could go, oh, okay, this is strong, right? This is strong. Even if you did like Tonali and Fernandez as the 8s and Bentancur because he's just the most calm, getting the ball out from the back. Then you might struggle with creativity or whatever. But you could put a team together. It's like, okay, well, this could be your first team, and it bypasses those problems if you're coming up against a physical team. But then what happens when just one or two in the certain areas of these players get injuries?
Is what we already are.
Then you're having to go back to rely on your Bergvalls or your players in areas that are just not physically strong. And then you're looking at last season going, wow, like how many games did we actually have to play with a kind of second string team out? And it was I thought we were one of the least physical teams in the league. You know?
And what can happen, Gavin, as well from that is if you've got reliance on maybe 2 or 3 individuals rather than the whole team, that extra pressure can then therefore increase the risk of them getting injured as well. So some of these players, like I've said it for a few seasons now, there are some players that do double or triple the work because the others don't know how to do it or don't want to do it. And I'm concerned at this moment in time, like if you look at the Brentford situation, I could probably imagine if we played Brighton at the weekend, we'd probably have a similar outcome that we did like Villa did, in all honesty. Yeah, because we don't have that ability to stop anything at the moment, like all of that onslaught and the physicality aspect. So I think if you think about Kudus, I don't think he's a great example because I don't even remember the last time he played. And when he does come back, it's not going to be everything's
he won't be the same.
Things will happen. It's exactly the same with Van de Ven. It's exactly the same. Kulusevski, you may as well write off for probably another half of the season, realistically, from a performance perspective. The excitement, the aura around it is great, but the physicality is not that. Maddison is pretty much the same. Xavi, you can pretty much write him off for the whole season. So you've got a load of creative players there. Arguably, Kulusevski is slightly physical. Kudus is physical, but I'm not relying on them because I don't think they're going to be playing enough games this season. So you could think about Tonali and Fernandez, but they're going to have so much pressure absorbed on them because they're doing double or triple the work and they will get injured by probably December. And then what do we talk about? Because we don't have anyone else after that. We're relying on 2 or 3 players right now.
The main problem for me is our defenders don't seem aerially dominant.
That's the main issue. Problem. It's not the sheer physicality of the squad. I think it is an issue, but it's not a big issue in my opinion because I do think we do have physical players, and I do think at prime fitness and at as we walk away into the season, you'll see that. But there's nobody in our whole squad that's aerially dominant.
That in 2026 is a massive issue.
Yeah, 100%. That is the issue. It's not the physicality of the squad.
Especially if you try to put 2 6'4" defenders on the pitch who can play ball, and should be aerially dominant. Like there's no excuse for you not to be, and they're not. That's weird. And
then you marry that up as well with Kinski, and I like Kinski, but he's not like the most commanding keeper.
No,
he's not a keeper. There's like Ray who's going to come and claim every cross.
They're all feet players. That's what I mean. They're all at feet players. Yeah, that's
they are. And Brentford were completely shameless and relentless in just pumping those long balls into them. And every time they were winning those, either winning the first ball for the flick on or winning that second ball. We're
supposed to have players up front that can do that, but they seem to be more interested in lying on the floor. Again, the physicality perspective, what are you doing? You're just wasting time.
I think the hope would be long term, as we get to grips with the Zerbi ball, we're very good at keeping the ball, keeping possession. That we restrict the opposition from opportunities to do that. to just continue to pump the long balls into us, and we're the ones dictating it. And the problem with what happened on Saturday is not only were we dominated physically, but they were better on the ball than us as well. Like, they were the ones playing the football. I think for the first half an hour we had 30% possession, I think it was, for the first half an hour of that game. So not only were we out-battled, we were out-footballed. Now, hopefully, down the line, we're not going to be out-footballed.
Yeah.
But will the fact that other teams might be able to aerially dominate us, will that continue to undermine us throughout the season? That's one worry that I don't think necessarily just goes away with new players coming in. That's the worry I've got.
I think all those worries are semi-linked. They're all a massive kind of tower of problems that keep knocking onto the next one, because the physicality thing is an issue. If your defenders are defending, your defenders are going to look so bad if the ball keeps coming back at them.
Also true.
If your midfield, you're creative, and all your kind of front four, kind of attacking midfield and front line, if none of them can hold the ball up or do anything that causes the opposition any kind of threat, you're just going to get dominated, and you're going to lose faith through the game. So everyone in the deeper positions is just going to they're going to crumble the more that they're looking up and their players can't do anything. So obviously that's why, like, this physicality thing is the reason why Gallagher's getting in the team a lot. Obviously, Maddison's going to take so long to get his physicality up to the standards. And so Gallagher's always in there. But then you're playing with a player who's just in no way creative. He doesn't swivel. He doesn't look. He does nothing creative in terms of like how to get the ball spread. So like, what's the point playing with fast wingers? There's just no way in. So like, I've always thought we are killing Bergvall because I just don't find him to be an 8 or a 6. Every time I've ever seen him go in to the half spaces and try to do a one-touch turn, or he always wants to do something clever because that's the way his brain has been wired his entire life. He's a baller, right? He's a tricky baller. But he's also physical, right? So then he's the player that you should have in the 10, and you should be teaching him. Matter should be working with him. The creative players should be working with him to use his kind of creativity that he wants to do all the time. Like the goal he scored against Liverpool, turning up late into the ball. If you see him ever doing great things, it's always around opposition's box. It's never in the half spaces going backwards. Some players just are not built to do it. When you come to the UK and you play in academies, they tell you early, like, trying to ball roll out of the half space? Are you nuts? Like, that's one of the, fundamentals. You say no, you get that out of players who play.
I actually disagree with that. I think when he was playing at his best under Ange, it was always kind of near the halfway line. That's when he was doing his best work, a little bit deeper.
Halfway line and up. Like, you don't want him going,
agreed. It wasn't in his own half,
Yeah, into the half spaces where our opponent's coming over the shoulder so you can't see, and you've got your information from your defenders or the goalkeeper has to be so good. Obviously, that's tough right now. But like, you have to have like, when you see like,
I don't think he's creative enough to be a 10. I think the 8 is his best position.
But I think this is because since he's been here, he's been playing in the kind of like a box to box, and then box to box responsibilities. If you see like Fernandez, he's so much better because he's played here. He understands it. He's so much better at going into dangerous positions and knowing, do not do this, do not do that. Even Archie Gray's better at it because he's come through UK like academies where they wipe out. There's non-negotiables of things you do not do. And the problem with Bergvall is I've actually seen him do this. That, the ball roll he does, his shoulders are too far back. He's got no confidence in winning that, and he loses the ball easy. I've seen him do that. I've seen him and Sarr lose the ball in a half space and immediately just lose goals. And I just think that's why Sarr's not been playing deeper whenever he's played. That's why Sarr's always up in the 10, because he is a liability. So he may as well use some of his assets because he's got a better aerial, the spatial awareness. And I think some of those things are some of the things that you can train into Bergvall that would get a way better return from him. I just don't think in this Premier League, for the way we play, especially how they're going to have to play Zerbi ball, I don't think he's suited to be in those dangerous areas.
But everything that you mentioned there is a coaching thing, and a top coach can get those traits in him and can get that out of him. And I think Zerbi is the perfect manager to be able to do that. Everyone looks at Bergvall quite negatively at the moment, and I think a lot of it is to do with bad coaching from last season. Frank was playing him here, there, everywhere on the wing, in the 10. I think anywhere apart from where his best position is, in my opinion, which is the 8, where his best performances came under Ange Postecoglou. Last season was a backstep in his development because of the coaching that he had. He needs a good coach to work on him day in, day out on the training pitch.
Do you know what that is, though? Is that players who come from other countries and they haven't had enough time in academies where there's non-negotiables, like at the highest level in the first team, a coach is not going to stand there and baby you and talk to you about non-negotiables that you should know by now. They just don't do it. They're not going to give you that time. You've got 20, 30 players to worry about. They're not going to go up to him and go, you've got these physical requirements. You are this type of player. You should be able to play in the 8. And then this is how we're going to play. And then he comes in and making those mistakes. Coaches are going to go, I shouldn't have to come over here and tell you not to do that. So I'm saying, like, I do think he's an amazing player. I just don't think he's just not bred into.
Yeah, but De Zerbi would know that, Brains. De Zerbi would know that. He's watched him at close quarters. He's seen what he did against Hoffenheim. He's now seen what he did against Brentford. He even spoke after the game about the flaws that he has, and he would have struggled in this game. So I don't think De Zerbi's under no illusion of the type of play he's picking up, and that he's convinced to stay as well.
I think that's what De Zerbi was sort of hinting at. He was like, these things that he does when he gets caught like that, he won't do under me. And that's what
I'm saying.
I'm like, okay, but like, it is still a huge risk. What if he's just right now, while we don't have a 10 who can, like, one good thing that he can do is when he picks the ball up and turns and goes, he's got a burst of pace that's pretty cool. And he's quite physical that way, like going forward. I think he's an asset there. And I think he's just in a little bit of trouble when he gets into those dangerous areas where you need like an aged, responsible mind to pick up the ball, And I think some people really clown on Bentancur, and I think sometimes he can be really hot-headed. But if you ever watch him when the ball's coming from the goalkeeper or from a right back or whatever, you'll see before he even calls for the ball, he looks left, right, and then he like turns his body to go that way, but he opens his foot up and then he can just drop shoulder and go. There's very few players in our squad. This is the crazy thing. There's very few players in our squad who can do that. And that's crazy to think that we've gone in the market and we really still only really have one kind of like out and out 6 who can press suppression and turn like that.